Hello everyone, Mocha Bear here. Welcome back to Mocha Bear's Hobby Den. Today we'll be continuing with the factions of Dungeons of Drakkenheim. Shall we get started? So the faction today that we will be checking out from the Dungeons of Drakkenheim book are the Followers of the Falling Star. And I forgot to bring my physical copy with me. I am currently house sitting, so I will be reading along from the PDF. Background. The faith of the sacred flame has long looked to the stars for guidance. The flickering stars cast within the astral void symbolize how the faithful see their place in the cosmos, points of light holding darkness at bay. Scripture tells how a shooting star inspired Saint Tarna to seek redemption before a pair of angels. The story of a blackguard turned paladin who founded the faith itself established an important message within the religion, that from the deepest darkness may arise the brightest light. Lucretia Matthias was one such flamekeeper who read omens in the night sky, and was regarded as one of the most learned and wise amongst the clergy. She channeled immense divine power, and invoked miracles that have not been witnessed in a generation. A decade before the meteor destroyed Drakkenheim, she beheld a vision of a falling star that would arrive on Earth and sign a great upheaval for the faithful. Despite her reputation, her visions were dismissed as an apocalyptic fantasy and largely suppressed at the time. Her visions proved true, right down to the hour. However, even Lucretia Matthias did not expect the actual destruction the meteor would cause, nor did she anticipate it would annihilate her birthplace, Drakkenheim. She spent several years afterwards contemplating the heavens and several strange stones recovered from the city. Her conclusion was dire indeed. The world stands on the precipice of darkness unending. Yet within delirium, she saw the spark of salvation. Though the stones are the stuff of chaos, black charcoal and midnight oil may fuel a great flame. Perhaps if taken up by righteous souls, the crystals might become an earthly vessel for the sacred flame itself. Rather than fall to all-consuming shadows, Lucretia Matthias prophesied a new age of heroes that could meet the coming night. She spoke widely about her beliefs and discoveries, and her fiery sermons galvanized a throng of loyal supporters who proselytized her new creed across Illyria, Westmar, and Caspia. As her support grew, she resolved to make a pilgrimage to the crater itself to confirm her revelations. Meanwhile, the mainstream clergy reacted to delirium with disgust and horror. When Lucretia Matthias returned from her pilgrimage bearing a delirium crystal embedded in her own body, she was declared a heretic and excommunicated. However, she refused to be silenced. Escaping Illyria, she expanded her original writings and published them as the Testament of the Falling Fire. This religious essay proclaimed a radical new doctrine for the faith and called upon all devout believers to make pilgrimage to the crater in Drakkenheim. Those who finish this arduous journey partake in a controversial rite known as the Sacrament of the Falling Star. Attire. The followers of the falling star give up most of their worldly possessions. Many are clad only in sackcloth jerkins or monastic robes, and often carry salvaged weapons adapted from everyday equipment and tools. Strongholds. While the Falling Fire is now sending missionaries out all over the world, they have 4 important holdings in Drakkenheim. Hendrix's Farm. Pilgrims camp out here in the Emberwood village before embarking on the last stage of their journey to the crater. Champion's Gate. Not a stronghold in any true sense, the pilgrims use Champion's Gate as a waypoint on their way to the crater's edge of St. Selena's Monastery. Chapel of St. Gresha. Located on the edge of the crater, this is the place where Lucretia Matthias performs the Sacrament of the Falling Fire each day at dawn. St. Selena's Monastery. Located in the deep haze, this is the sanctuary for members of the Falling Fire who have completed their pilgrimage and taken the sacrament. Objectives. Transform Drakkenheim into a holy site. Lucretia Matthias has proselytized that hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of devoted followers will need to complete the pilgrimage to fulfill her prophecy. Once they do, the sacred flame will set alight every righteous mortal heart, and a glorious new age of heroes shall begin. Until then, they must ensure many more can make the journey, and preserve the delirium, the sacred charcoal needed to enact their rituals. Thus, they wish to make Drakkenheim itself a holy site. Those who complete their pilgrimage to the crater's edge participate in a ritual called the Sacrament of the Falling Fire. This controversial rite requires supplicants to impale a delirium fragment into their hearts. Those who survive the pilgrimage are spiritually transformed and physically empowered, rendered immune to contamination and able to survive in the haze. Many who complete the pilgrimage suddenly discover they are able to tap into powerful spiritual energies, which they claim are the sacred flame. Thus, many followers channel divine magic who had not before exhibited the necessary willpower to master such abilities. Spread and defend their faith. The followers of the falling fire seek to convert others to take up their cause and their beliefs, no matter their former lives. They believe members of the Hooded Lanterns and the Silver Order could be convinced to abandon their organization to join the followers of the falling fire. Should a new ruler of Westmire emerge, the followers of the falling fire wish to convert this individual to their faith. Doing so will legitimize the falling fire politically and make sure that they can continue their pilgrimages. At the same time, they must defend their faith. The followers of the falling fire have been declared heretics and excommunicated by the clergy of the Sacred Flame, and must protect themselves from attacks, both physical and political, by the Knights of the Silver Order. Claim the lost relics of Saint Vitruvio. Drakkenheim was home to many saints of the Sacred Flame, most notably the heroic Saint Vitruvio, who fought astride the mighty gold dragon Argonath centuries ago. Both were buried beneath the cathedral that bears his name. Many relics of this mighty paladin are lost in Drakkenheim, such as Ignatius, the Sword of Burning Truth. If the followers of the falling fire were to obtain these relics and resurrect the dragon, it would significantly legitimize their beliefs to many laypeople. They wish to reclaim these artifacts and reconsecrate the altar of the sacred flame in the cathedral of St. Vitruvio. The phylactery of St. Vitruvio is also one of the seals of Drakkenheim, traditionally held by a flamekeeper of the sacred flame. Possessing it ensures the followers of the falling fire gain influence over the political destiny of Drakkenheim and Westmar. Key characters. And just like I did with the last faction, once I have completed these factions, I will go into more detail on these key characters. Boons. Divine spellcasting services. Lucretia Mathias can offer her services as a spellcaster to the characters. She can help them recover via spells such as Lesser Restoration, Prayer of Healing, Purge Contamination, Remove Curse, Greater Restoration, and Hero's Feast. While characters must still provide any costly material components, she does not charge them to cast the spells. Celestial Lore. Lucretia Mathias is an unparalleled expert on celestial phenomena, cosmology, religion, and divine magic. In addition, she possesses unique insight about delirium and the meteor, and has prescient divine visions. While she could conceivably answer questions about anything, she speaks in prophecy and mystery, and often encourages others to seek the truth for themselves. She's more likely to guide characters towards an answer than outright reveal it. For example, while Lucretia Mathias has personally ventured to the center of the crater and knows what lies there, she believes others must witness it firsthand. Furthermore, she has her own subjective point of view about events colored by her faith, though she sincerely believes them to be true. Prophecy. Lucretia Mathias can cast a wide range of divination spells, including Commune, Divination, Legend Lore, and Scrying. She will cast these spells to gain knowledge and insight about future events. Revive the Fallen. Lucretia Mathias is willing to cast Raise Dead, Resurrection, or even True Resurrection upon a faithful champion. She will use Delirium as a material component for these spells, and so any character raised by her gains a form of indefinite madness. Sanctified by the Falling Fire. Characters who demonstrate full faith and devotion to the Falling Fire are invited to make a pilgrimage to the Crater's Edge and partake in the Sacrament of the Falling Fire. This ritual imbues characters with powerful protection against the haze, but has a serious cost. Relics of the Faithful. As a reward for completing an important mission, the followers of the Falling Fire will grant the party one magical rod, staff, or wondrous item from their reliquary. This will be an uncommon item for an outer city mission, a rare item for the inner city or a faction stronghold, or a very rare magic item for a successful mission to Castle Draken or the Cathedral. This boon can be granted multiple times, once for each character in the party. The Game Master can either choose the item or allow the players to choose it. Testament of the Falling Fire. Lucretia Mathias allows characters to read one of her original manuscripts. These take the form of a Tome of Clear Thought, a Tome of Understanding, and a Tome of Leadership and Influence. Sanctified by the Falling Fire. The Sacrament of the Falling Fire is a new spell described in Appendix D, known only to Lucretia Mathias and St. Grecia, who cast the spells each day at dawn and dusk respectively at the Chapel of St. Grecia on the Crater's Edge. A character who participates in the Sacrament of the Falling Fire gains the following traits, so long as they adhere to the tenets and faith of the Falling Fire. You gain advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened, and resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. You are immune to contamination. If you die, your soul enters the delirium fragment embedded into your chest. You can't be raised from the dead while your soul is in the fragment. The embedded delirium fragment does not contaminate or otherwise harm a character who keeps their conviction. Loss of faith. A character who violates or loses their faith in the falling fire loses the protection of sanctification and the beneficial traits above. Instead, their body is directly exposed to delirium in their chest, and they immediately gain 1 level of contamination. Until the fragment is removed or they atone for their sins, their hit point maximum is reduced by 10, or 3d6, and they gain a level of delirium contamination each time they finish a long rest. Whoa! Sanctified delirium. A delirium fragment filled with a sanctified soul glows with a golden light. It becomes inert and immune to all damage except bludgeoning damage from magical weapons. Sanctified delirium possesses no other magical properties and is worthless for all arcane applications. A creature holding the fragment can telepathically communicate with the soul held within. If a sanctified fragment is destroyed, the soul inside is utterly annihilated, but the fragment can be used in a spell to return the dead soul within to life. Removing the fragment. The Sacrament ritual fuses delirium to the body. The fragment can only be physically removed through great effort, requiring 1 hour of work and a DC 25 medicine check. On a successful check, the fragment is removed, but the sanctified character suffers 55 or 10d10 damage. The fragment can be harmlessly removed from a willing creature using a heal or wish spell. What has Lucretia Mathias seen? Within the quotation at the start of this section, the entire truth of Lucretia Mathias' visions are laid bare. While it might seem like she is speaking in metaphor, she is actually being quite literal. Lucretia Mathias has seen how the haze will consume the world, but also knows that the spread of delirium through comets has continued for untold eons. She intends to break this cycle. From the deepest darkness comes the brightest light is a core doctrine for the Sacred Flame and Lucretia Mathias. Believes the chaotic and destructive energies of the haze and delirium can be remade into a vessel for light and order. One must only plant the seed of righteousness within. Thus, the purpose of the Sacrament of the Falling Fire is only realized when participants die and their souls are drawn into the delirium crystals in their chests. Lucretia Mathias believes that if enough of these sanctified stones are gathered by the time the world ends, a divine apotheosis will result in a new generation of harbingers of light and salvation, rather than chaos and doom. Whether or not this will actually happen is impossible to say. Since Drakkenheim is a world of distant and unknowable gods, there is no way to prove or disprove her claims. It is entirely a matter of faith. Schemes. Celestial visions. If the player characters pose a threat to followers of the Fallen Fire, Lucretia Mathias begins using scrying spells to observe the characters when they are outside the haze, and using divination and commune spells to learn about their personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Her aim is to simply learn about the characters, their motivations, and actions. Compelling plea. Lucretia Mathias uses her knowledge of the player characters to implore them to join the followers of the Falling Fire. She uses information gleaned about the characters' ideals, bonds, and flaws to impress the importance of her own visions. She makes prophecies and delivers omens that the characters will not succeed without faith, and perhaps even expose their vices, flaws, and past sins. However, in bringing up the characters' failures, secrets, and flaws, she offers them hope for atonement and absolution by joining her. Salvation and penitence. If the characters are in dire circumstances, Lucretia Mathias receives a vision of their plight and dispatches a Falling Fire strike team to rescue them. The strike team brings the characters back to St. Selena's and offers them healing and help, but also takes their possessions and tries to forcefully convert them. They may even imprison the characters until they repent. Conversion. If the player characters have any family members or loved ones, the followers of the Falling Fire seek them out and attempt to convert them. Alternatively, they convert members of the Queen's Men, Silver Order, or Sacred Flame to join them. Truth of the Crater. Lucretia Mathias invites the player characters to accompany her to the center of the crater so they can see for themselves the truth of what is to come. If they do not agree to join her, she incites the monsters therein to attack, relying on her own divine powers to protect herself. This is definitely a type of group that I would love to use. So I hope this video was helpful and beneficial to those of you who have the book or are looking at getting the book, interested on what's in the book, as well as the groups that you could face in the book, as well as those of you who are looking for ideas of what you would like to have as far as organizations against your players. Or if you're doing a dark story, for your players to join. If you wish to see more videos like this, please comment down below saying Drakkenheim, so that way I know that you do want to see more material. And when the factions are done, like I said, I will go into more detail on the named characters from each faction. But that is all for the video today. Thank you everyone for joining me. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, hobby on.